Hi, it's me again. Thank you, Green Chef, for sponsoring the podcast. Green Chef is the most sustainable meal kit, and that means a lot to me in this day and age. It is fun and easy to try healthy new recipes at home with Green Chef. Try Green Chef today, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Go to greenchef.com/Funches100 and use code Funches100 to get $100 off, including free shipping.
Big love out your health and your wealth, but don't forget your spiritual life. Big love out having better sex and being a good friend and doing the best that you can. It's about getting better, we're working on getting better together.
Hey, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for watching the podcast. Thank you for telling anyone about the podcast, which is the thing that you can do best for me now. If you get something from this, if you get a little bit of peace, if you get a little bit of laughter, if you get a little bit of joy, spread the word. I know a lot of people don't believe it, but word of mouth is still one of the best ways to advertise, to get things to grow what we're about, because I'm not spending much money on advertisement. And I'm also I'm a weird guy. So you gotta, you gotta give me the seal of approval. Tell your friends so they also can watch and listen and they can learn from it. Because you know somebody who can gain something from this. I'm sure you got one person in your life that you're like, oh, they could use a little bit. Send them a clip. Send them something from the Instagram. Just help getting better continue to get better. We truly appreciate it. And you can go to patreon.com/gettingbetterwithron if you want to become a Patreon subscriber. We can send you wonderful thank you notes, posters. I'm getting ready to make some new posters. We're going to make some new prizes for people. So go over to patreon.com/gettingbetterwithron, which is also exclusive episodes that we do not post on the main feed. And I would like to say that because they're super good and super special, but it's usually because they don't reach the audio quality that we have for the main feed. But the content is amazing. So we take a negative and we turn it into a positive. We use all parts of the buffalo. We post them up. You can find an episode with Charlene Yee. I forget if there's another episode. Charlene Yee, Tamatanga, and then we'll have a new episode coming on the Patreon really soon with our good buddy, Powerhouse Willie Hobbs. We would love to put him on the main show, but he wasn't wearing headphones. What you gonna do? You're not wearing headphones and you live in an echoey house, you get put on the Patreon. You get your t-shirts, comediantees.com, get yourself a Get High Watch Wrestling shirt, Getting Better shirt, and then just the twitch.tv, Ron_Funches. We just had our 1-year anniversary of the Funch Bunch. I think I'm going to make a Funch Bunch t-shirt to celebrate it, put some video game stuff on there. I think that will be real fun. I'm going to come up with a lot of ideas while I'm out on vacation, and then we're going to execute them. But yeah, patreon.com, Twitch. I forgot. I got a little stone before this one. If you'll know from watching the interview that we do, which is probably coming out the following week. You'll understand why I'm talking like this right now. I'll just do a plug from now. We have an interview with Brett from Wonder Bread, which is my favorite wheat strain company. They make all my favorite flavors. And so you can imagine we had a time. And you can look forward to that next week. But now, let's just talk about twitch.tv, Ron_Funches. Come watch me play games. Come watch me watch wrestling. Come hang out with 20,000 deep. And I appreciate all of the Funch Bunch that helped us grow that big in 1 year. I truly appreciate you all. Let's see, anything else I need to promote? Oh, Chopped 420 on Discovery Plus. A lot of people seem to be finding that more and more now. So please go check that out. It's a great show, great cooking show, great reality show, great weed show. If you're into any of that, please go check out Chopped 420 on Discovery Plus. Watch Harley Quinn on HBO Max. That's it. And come see me if I'm doing stand-up in your area, but I don't know when that will be. I might be in the Brea Improv soon, but other than that, I might have to stay home for a while and work on stuff, which I think that would be actually the best case scenario. I'm gonna keep talking lower and lower. Let's get to the podcast. You know how we started. I hope you're feeling strong. I hope you're feeling brave. I hope you're feeling loved, grateful for that love. I hope you're feeling passionate in the things that you do. I hope you're feeling appreciated. Hope people are showing you love and showing you the value that you deserve. And if they don't, I hope you show it to yourself. Because not everybody will. No, everybody will see who you are. But it's up to you to determine it. Never lower yourself to what they think your value is. Because sometimes that happens. It happens to us all. We let enough people tell us that we are a nickel when we're really a dollar. And if you believe it enough, you'll trade that dollar in and you won't even care. So don't believe it. Know who you are. Know your value. Know what you can become. Know because you made mistakes in the past or you've done things, made choices that you're not proud of. That doesn't mean that you can't become what you want in the future. Everything is in motion. Everything is fluid, and it is only our minds, ourselves, our judgments, and allowing other people's judgments to freeze us in place. Other than that, everything moves forward, doesn't it? Every day moves forward. Everything goes forward. The waves go back and forth. So why shouldn't your life? You continue to push, continue to get better, and don't worry about what other people think. I don't even know. I didn't even plan to talk about this, so I assumed just maybe somebody needed to hear that. That just came out of me, so I don't know what that was about. I just hope you value yourself, take care of yourself, and just treat yourself like that. Don't let anybody like, oh, that guy thinks he's a shit. She thinks she's a shit. Yeah, that's okay. Oftentimes when people treat you like that and they're like, oh, you think you're better than everybody, it's because they are putting a distance between yourself and them. They know they haven't put in the work you put in. They haven't done the things that they should do. So then now they're going to act like, oh, you're acting like you're all high and mighty when you're like, look, I'm just happy to be me, doing my thing, living my life. And I'm truly happy to be me, getting ready to go on our 1-year anniversary vacation with my wife, to celebrate all the things that we could not do because we got married in the pandemic. I had to have a local honeymoon and everything, and now we're going to go to Europe for a couple weeks, bounce around. I'll tell you about it when we get back because I don't want to be like, oh, we're doing this, and doing this. You never know how things. Also, there's still COVID going around, so we'll see how things happen. But hopefully, it'll be a beautiful, wonderful anniversary trip with my wife. And I know we talk about her all the time on the podcast, but it's just so fun as we get closer. I'm sure I'll talk to her more as we get to that year anniversary, but everything grows deeper. Everything continues just in the 1 year. I love her so much more now than I did a year ago. I thought I loved her more than my ex-wife a year ago, and that's for sure. But she had gone past that a while, like but it's just fun that someone that truly believes in me, truly tries to protect me, truly wants the best for me and sees the best in me, does see my value, does see me as the leading man that I want to be. When I don't let her down on those aspects, that's when we have issues. When I'm not being that leading man, that's when we have issues. And that's beautiful. And I just hope anyone that's like, as we continue to climb out of it and everything seems so uncertain, as mask mandates come back and people wonder about, I assume just like you wonder, oh, is this going to, am I going to get shut back down and be stuck in the house? Is my vacation going to be canceled again? Is my job going to be gone again? And I just want to make sure that we remind ourselves that before it was something we'd never been through before. So at least now we know what this can be like. We know how to prepare for things. Go out and get vaccinated. I'm not one of these people that it's your personal choice and I don't get involved in politics. I don't think human preservation is politics. I think that's just trying to survive. And I think if you're trying to survive, you got a right to be like, hey, motherfucker, help us out, push us along here so we can all survive. And if I'm wrong and the vaccines mess with your DNA and turn you into a fish or whatever, as I've seen on the internet from a few people, then my bad. I will say my bad on that one for pushing you towards it. Please forgive me if that happens, if you turn into a fish 10 years from now. But if you don't, and it just means that we can go out and get back to our regular lives and have a better life as a human being, as a community and society, then maybe just fucking get out there and do it and give it a shot. Just try it, see what happens. I don't understand. I mean, I'm a biggest conspiracy theory guy that there is. I believe in so many. Well, you telling me motherfuckers can take every other vaccine there is, but this is the one you can't take? You take vaccines all the time. There's been issues with things. You don't think I got issues? You don't think I got some theories about mercury levels and autism and things of that nature? You don't think I worried about having my son get the vaccine? You don't think I worry about that shit? But I know the biggest deal is to try to get us moving forward. Because, I mean, again, I do believe in conspiracy theories, but it is so weird when people are like, oh, this is, you are so selfish and you would think you're so fucking important. Like, you think the whole world, you think China, India, Europe, the UK, America, Mexico, everybody is pulling a COVID hoax to get you to take a vaccine and somewhere in fucking West Virginia? No, you fucking idiot. Want to track you down, just fucking track you down. You got a fucking tracking device near you at all fucking times. So how about you just go get the fucking vaccine and stop being a fucking idiot? Unless, again, it does mess with you, and then again, my bad. But I'm willing to be a leader. That would be cool. You know, mess with my DNA. You know, odds are I needed it. So I just don't want to be locked in my fucking house, and I swear to God, if it happens, then I'm going to go, oh, there's a list of a few comedians I know I'm going to beat the shit out. But that's not what this podcast is about. And also, sometimes it's about whatever I want it to be. If I'm frustrated about how people are acting and being fucking idiots, I can say it. Because who cares? I don't got anybody to answer to except for BetterHelp and Green Chef. But let's get into our guests. Just thanks to the pandemic, I met this friend, just kind of just a co-conspirator, a fellow. We swim in the same school of fish, just out there trying to be positive, being optimistic. I mean, she's much more louder than I, but she was one of the people that, if I had a list of the all stars that got me through the pandemic, it would be like Ritter Chocolate, my wife, Breaking Bad, Tiger King, GCW Wrestling. Did I already say marijuana? Because that definitely was on the list. And then this lady right here who showed me, I was doing Zoom shows, I was going on these other shows, and I was fucking hating them. They're all boring, all apathetic, all people kind of not really trying. And then I did her Zoom show, and it felt like I was in a club. She put out so much energy, she put out so much joy. She was professional, she had a stand-up mic, and I was like, these are the type of people who I fuck with. People who even when the shit goes haywire, is in there, not running away from shit, not hiding from things, but out there trying to make a difference, trying to be a positive. And so since then, I just been trying to work with her whenever I can, been touring with her, help her get herself together because she's still a up and coming comedian. And that's part of bringing her on the podcast here. So if you could do me a favor, give her a follow, give her some likes, hit her PayPal up because right now she live with her parents and I don't want that. I don't think she want that either. I want her back here in Los Angeles where she could write and do comedy and be a voice actor and do all the things that she's really good at because she's a really, really good writer, really good comedian, a really good positive force. So please support my friend and our next guest, Carmen Morales. Enjoy it.
Do I look okay? Okay.
Self-conscious.
Just nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't
Talk
know.
to me.
I know. Because the lights and the cameras and stuff.
I guess that would do you. I mean, that's normal now for you, though, right?
Yeah.
You got lights and cameras. So why are you nervous?
I don't know. I don't know how deep we're gonna get. So I'm
You're
excited.
afraid to get deep. You're afraid I'm gonna make you cry again, like before, like last
I
weekend.
probably won't do that on camera.
That's what people say.
True. You could Barbara Walters me and just keep digging and digging until I start crying.
We'll see. You seem like you would push away before that would happen. Carmen, thank you for coming on the podcast. One of the reasons that I want you on the podcast is because I think you're super hilarious. You just have a fun viciousness in the way that you perform. You're very you're just no nonsense about it. You're very business minded. I think that you're super I just like the way you go about your business. I like how much you hustle and you work and you don't seem like you complain and bitch and moan, but you just kind of like do your best at all times. And anything that I've seen with you, you're just like always a pleasure to be around and people want to have you around. And that's just the thing I like about you, and I know it's about you, and that's how I like to start the podcast.
With flattery? That's a very nice one. Would you like me to exchange my flattery as well?
No, it's not necessary. If you wanted to, you could just accept it and tell me how it makes you feel.
I do accept it, and it makes me feel pretty, if I'm being completely honest, because I also don't feel that way. I feel like I have to work for people to, I don't know if it's notice or enjoy my company or whatever. But as I've gotten older, I've cared less. I think that's like the beauty of like getting older is like you just care less about how people perceive you. It's more about how you perceive yourself. And like, so that's, you have been like a beam of light for me as far as the pandemic goes, because that is how we became acquainted through a mutual friend. And it's been nothing. I mean, a lot of the things that you said it's mutual. Like everybody likes having you around. You're a good time, and you're not like a fake good time. Like you're genuinely out, and like that's one of my motivating factors through all of this is I've been like, I just genuinely want to bring joy, regardless of my level of success that ends up happening. Like I've already come to peace with like I will obviously work my hardest for success, but I still, till I'm dead, I'm going to just bring joy, like, and not in the way that like some prosperity preachers say they will, but they really just want your money. I genuinely just want to make people happy. And it was kind of a lame realization for me because as a comedian, that's not cool. That's not a cool answer. So that was like, it was really great to be able to connect with someone that I genuinely feel has a lot of the similar motivations and whether it comes from, I don't know what it comes from for you, whether it comes from like past trauma or seeing people sad your whole life or whatever the case is. It's like, it's just definitely a task that's like on the forefront of my mind whenever I'm doing anything. So especially like the viciousness that you were talking about, I think a lot of times it takes a little bit of a jolt to get people to like crack and allow themselves to receive joy, if that makes sense. So it's usually just like, hey, come on. Nope. It's okay. It's definitely okay for you to feel good. And I'm here. We are here to have a good time.
No, I love that. I think that's why you fit in when we wanted to add you to the Merriment Marauder tour, because that's what a Merriment Marauder is. That's what it's about. It's a joy warrior, a person that's here to spread positivity and to try to make people happy. That's why we named a tour that, and it's the thing that bonds me and Blair and Gabe and you. And that, like, although our styles are different, I would say that they're all completely different from each other. But the thing that bonds us together and the thing that makes it a cohesive tour is that overall we're just trying to bring joy. We're trying to bring all of our sets at the end of the day, even if they're sharp, even if they're talking about topics you don't normally deal with, they're very much from an optimistic point of view. And I think that's what I liked about you and what I was like drawn to you at the beginning. But I will talk a bit since you brought it up. I think I just want to give you more specific praise. You get a lot of praise in the beginning. Because that was how we met, was that I got asked to basically just go do a Zoom show that you were hosting. And I was like, I don't want to do Zoom comedy. Like, there's no audience. Why would you do? Who is it for? And so I just was like, I don't want to do it. But then Maria was going to be on the show and you were hosting. And so I went, and then just how much energy that you made the show online on Zoom feel like I was in a club, like the way that you perform, the way that you would improvise with the people in the different boxes. So it was all like eye-opening to me, that of like, oh, like you can still deliver a high level of performance and a high level of energy in a different circumstance. And that's when I did have to realize, like, oh, like you've been very selfish of just thinking about what comedy gives to you instead of thinking of the fact there are other people out there who are currently as stressed out and scared as you, and going to shows was the way that they dealt with it in normal times. So they needed even more so now. And so you, I think, along with, like, you know, Jenny Yang and a few other people, Nori Davis and stuff, were real leaders of the pandemic comedy, as far as like you were hosting so many shows, you were building an audience while that was going on. So tell me a little bit about how you felt about doing that. And did you feel, now that things are kind of coming out of it and you're going back to doing more regular shows, what overall impact do you feel like that had on you?
I think there's a couple of things about that. Like, one is, for me, it was a like, stand-up has given me everything. Like, I've wanted to be a comedian. So, like, I remember this is so embarrassing, but in first grade, we had to write a paper about who inspires us. And I wrote my paper about Gallagher. So I've been a fan since as long as I can remember. And so in like once I finally,
great taste.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I was first grade. I was like, what, 6 or 7? I loved a huge couch. I loved the element of spectacle. I love the visual representation. Now, I mean, he's a nut job, so it's like unfortunate how it turns out. But I mean, that's happened with a lot of comedians. Yeah. But at the time, it was great for me because, again, it had like that cartoonish element to it that I really enjoyed. And so then, yeah, and ever since the first time I did stand up, I was like, oh, I want to do this forever. And then, in it, like I said, it's like I've gotten to make a living off of my thoughts for years. So it's like, it didn't make sense for me to be like, well, this isn't how I want to do it. This sucks, you know? And so with that, when it was just like, okay, well then check your own ego and this is the time to give back. Like, it's that whole idea of like, if you give comedy give it back to you or whatever, all that like karmatic, ideals and stuff like that. I was like, okay, well then if I genuinely do, I had to check myself. Do I genuinely do this just for me, or do I genuinely do it for others as well? And so, and I saw it. I did a bunch of other people's Zoom shows, and it just, the reasons, the narrative was that they all sucked is because every most of the shows were just dripping with apathy and like, just like, you know, I saw somebody like try to do this, their set in bed, like not just not caring at all. And it's like, okay, do you want these people to make it through this enough to buy a ticket in the future? Because that was the other thing too, is it's like, this is just bad business. You want to keep people engaged. You know, you want to keep people happy enough that they don't kill themselves by the end of this, then fucking do something to make them feel good, you know? And it didn't just have to be stand up. Like, that's just my favorite thing. So I was like, I'll figure out a way to do it and still have it be fun for both of us, you know? And so I understood all the criticism that people had from it because it wasn't the same. Like, our friend Jackie Cation, her and I have talked about it several times. It was our methadone. If we were addicts, that was the thing that was not as good, but it was going to hold me over and on my end. And then just the outpour of people that were just like, fuck, I needed a second to feel good. Thank you. Like, thank you for caring enough to want to make us feel good. That like, also, it was like, you know, me being selfless in just a way, because it was still selfish. I was still getting to perform, get my thoughts out, you know, burn off the energy and anxiety, all that stuff. It was still beneficial to me, but to have people appreciate it just made it all the more like, oh, okay, then I'm just going to keep doing this until like. And that's the other thing that's happened, is that one of the criticisms was that everybody thought that you weren't going to, that it was going to like hinder live performance. And I was like, who is going to ever want to stare at their laptop versus have an actual experience? The only answer I could come up with are people with like agoraphobia or like, you know, people who were still scared to go out. So and if anything, it had quite the opposite effect. Like, just the few live shows that I've done, there have been people that have come to my Zoom shows at every single one. We just wanted to see you live. We wanted to see it because it's a completely different feeling. It's a feeling that you can't just get from, you know, from doing it on a different platform. And so I had to like, you know, that was one of the things is I was like, because again, it didn't feel cool. And and I was raised in comedy by cool guys. So I had to battle with that a lot too. But then at the end of the day, it was like, it doesn't fucking matter how cool it feels or not. There is a bigger thing that matters more right now. So that's what you should focus on. And so that was all it was. That was it. And yeah, and I got, you know, got to work out new thoughts and jokes, and who doesn't fucking love that? Like, the idea of being creative in a time where it's like super difficult because like you're not getting to have the same kind of life experiences in general, that like is everybody just going to talk about the TV shows they watch? Like, you know, so yeah, so I was grateful and gracious that people were willing to roll with me with it, because they knew, like, that was the other thing, is they were like, oh, you know, it's going to hurt the clubs. It's like, absolutely not. It's been quite the opposite. People have been way more supportive after things have opened up they weren't like, oh, all right, well, pandemic's over, so I guess fuck you. Like, they've been, they gave me money, like, you know, because they weren't going out and stuff like that. They were, yeah, it was just, it was bullshit that people hated on it so much.
Okay, you finally wrapped it up. Sums it up with, it was a bullshit. Yeah. People were hating on it.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you about is that, like, this is the thing that I'd been wondering about and felt very grateful for, was at least nobody like wanted to go through this pandemic, but I was like, at least the timing of it for me was the best it could be, as opposed to like, if this had happened 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I don't know how it would have affected my living situation, how it would have affected my career, how it would have stalled me, and what type of stress that would have put on me if I was still back on food stamps and on government assistance. And for you during this time, like, you were out here, you were working at the Comedy Store, you were known at the roast battles, you were winning roast battles. And then this happens, and then you have to go back to Florida. So what does that feel like for you? Walk me a little bit through the stress and then the unknowingness of going through it then, and then we can kind of go into like, how do you feel now that you've been coming back to LA and people have been so open to having you on shows and been wanting to work with you so much? But maybe you can talk a little bit about like when you were like, oh shit, like I don't have a place out here is stable in LA anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything that happened to you during the pandemic seemed way more severe in general, and especially like going back, because my folks had been like hitting me up throughout the pandemic asking me to come home anyways. They wanted me to like, they're like, until this shit, we want you to be home. And for the longest time, I was like, it just doesn't make sense for me to go move all of my shit back on to the other side of the country. And then, but it did get to the point where it was just like, all right, well, fine, then I'll go. And, it sucks. It sucks to be a grown ass person in your folks' home, especially when I wasn't in a position where I needed to. It was the best business decision for me. So I didn't come in because I didn't get unemployment. I didn't get a small business loan or anything. So I was just like any kind of like those online shows were kind of my only source of income. So it was like, it sucked because it wasn't just like I was doing well right at the beginning of this. Like there was a lot of things that were starting to like really take momentum and stuff like that. And I was in a really good place. And so it put in like, I think April. So it hit in March. In April, it was probably one of my most lucrative months where I was going to make like $6 or $7 grand just doing stand up. And I was like, because I was headlining these festivals, and it was just like a really sweet month where I was like, oh, I'm taking May off. I'm going to just do shows around Los Angeles and like do everybody's. It's going to be great. This is amazing. Like I finally was like, this is it. This is working really well. And then, that completely stops. And of course, initially, because, I'm a nihilist optimist where it's like, okay, I can accept that things are bad. How long will I have to endure this? And, and the longer it was, obviously the harder it is to maintain hope. And so then when I had to like, it was in a matter of like 3 days, my entire life, I packed in a minivan and drove across country amidst the states that were like, don't listen to the mask Nazis let's like spray painted on the walls of a Walgreens. Like, it's like seeing all of that on the way to Florida, to a place where, again, just like Florida has the reputation of just like not giving a fuck about it at all, which is where my family is. So all of that stuff was incredibly stressful. And then, my dad's mentally ill. And so it's like managing that and like somebody who like is on the verge of being completely hopeless. And my mom, so it was like, there's a reason we are supposed to leave our childhood homes and not only come, like the holidays are a perfect amount for you to handle everybody else's shit. And then, so when you go from also having like complete and utter freedom to not having it, and then not having it even more because like you feel obligated, whenever you're in the situation, like unless everything completely changes with your dynamic with your family, there is like a reversion, like reverting back to how you like a childlike mentality, which a lot of times isn't healthy because it's like, I'm a grown ass woman. Like I am a grown ass. You guys need to remember that. Like I am a grown. I don't need you.
I don't have to ask for dessert.
Exactly. So, so it was incredibly stressful and like, and everybody's got different coping mechanisms. I was microdosing for a pretty long time using mushrooms and stuff like that, which was helpful. And just because I've been a nerd about those for years. And so anytime any new study comes out about them, like I'm always, I think the most recent thing I found is that like they found people that are taking it regularly are getting regenerative like brain activity, which is unheard of. So like that's been one of the things that helps. And I've always used those to make big decisions anyways, like after a sticky breakup or a really big decision I have to make in my life, I figure out a safe place, I eat a bunch of them and I work it out with my own self.
I've done that several times too. It's got a 90% working rate. There was a 10% where I ended up in a committed relationship with a lady that I knew was cheating on me all the time.
No.
But I was like, I want a girlfriend. But I think the husband was like, yeah, but maybe not her.
Yeah.
But, but I didn't. I was confused.
Yeah. But you figured out a thing that you wanted. Like, and whether it is like, I don't good trip or bad trip, whatever you want to call it. Like I've had emotional trips, like where I ended up in a closet crying, but it was because I was working shit out with myself. It's almost like some form of, because I don't go to like a traditional therapist or anything like that. So
you should.
We were probably, but we work things out together. So it's like I have to ask me all of those hard hitting questions, and because I know where it all comes from. So like, to me, the therapy part of it is me like retelling all of the things that I've already learned. It's usually the things that I need externally is tools, like just the tools, like the things that are, like ways to interrupt like a cyclical behavior, or like walking yourself through something when you can act, like when you could notice your own behavior or a specific self-destructive behavior. And
I've been working on that.
Yeah, it's like once you're able to go, oh, I'm being a dick to myself right now. That probably means I need something. What do I need? And then, I crawl into my head and we work it out. What is it that you need? What is like the young, what does the 13-year-old Carmen need? What does child Carmen need? Like, what are the actual needs that I'm looking for? Because it's like, that's what it is. It's like a behavior is feelings needs. So it's like you walk all those things back. So it's like, once you get to the root of it, then it's like, okay, well then now we can work on how to navigate this or how to work through it.
It's very interesting. That's a lot of, you gave me a lot of information that almost seemed a little bit deflection, like in some.
No, I talked about the stress. I went through a lot of stress moving across the country. I said it.
Because I definitely would know, like, if you just started a therapy session with, like, I think I need a therapist, but I just do a lot of microdosing and I work it out with that to go to my. I just do mushrooms all the time and I work it out and I cry in the closet. And
I don't do it all the time.
Maybe we should come in for a session.
I don't do them all the time. That is one thing though. I think that like, because millennials in general, like that generation of people get a lot of shit.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, neither do I. I just know the word.
I just gotta be upfront with that. I've never really been upfront with that, but now I'm trying to be more honest about myself. I don't have any idea what a millennial or a Gen Z. I don't know what the years are. Yeah. I don't know what it means. I don't know why people start talking about it. Like I guess I heard other people talk about other generations before, but I never heard people really dividing it so much as now.
Yeah,
it seemed weird to me, and also I just never like it when people. And the quickest way for me to stop listening to your set as a comedian is for you to just talk about a whole group. Like, if you're
it's just stereotyping.
Yeah,
all it is ageist stereotyping.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's diminishing everybody's experience individually and like group. But that's one of the things. Like the criticism is always like, oh, that like millennials and that's probably like it's like I think 1986 to like 1999. It's like a decade. That's the other thing too, is like whenever I look any of it up, it varies. It varies depending on who's divvying it up. And on all of them, I'm not in any category. I'm in a cusp. I'm an outlier, which is weird because I've also been an outlier in so many other aspects of my life.
Tell us about them.
Like when I did stand up, there was significantly less women doing it. So I was always like the single chick. I was always like the chick that was by herself and always performing with nothing but men. Like even in high school, I was the only chick that played golf. So I always had to play with a bunch of dudes. Like I've always been alone in a way, shape, or form doing something just because I wanted to do it. And it wasn't like, so that's one of the things where like, and people talk about camaraderie in stand up and a lot of people, it's bullshit. But like there was I felt for the first time, I felt at home amidst other types of people, like other humans like me. And and like, and then was also like going on the road by myself. I used to do all that, and people would never, like, I remember telling people about that and they would be like, oh my God, you do that by yourself? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, anything throughout my life I've wanted to do, I've had to do it by myself. So, but I loved, like, I mean, we've played video games enough to know that I love a team. I love a team sport. It's a great time. I love contributing to a team. It's just, I usually never had that opportunity to enjoy something like that. So that's all I mean is like, it's like, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I like that. I thought I had a question ready to go, but I was like, let me see where she goes with it. Hey, you know there's lots of types of chefs you can be in the world. You could be an iron chef. You could be a bad chef. You can come on my show, Chopped 420 on Discovery Plus, and be a chopped chef when I don't like your work. But best of all, you can be a green chef. Green Chef lets you choose from a wide array of easy-to-follow recipes for perfect keto, paleo, and plant-powered diets. Or even if you just want to eat in a more balanced way. Who doesn't? I know I do. As I get older, I have trouble eating more and more red meat, have to balance my diet out, try new things. I'm wanting to try plant-based things without necessarily committing to being vegan or a certain thing. And Green Chef is perfect for that. Green Chef's expert chefs design flavorful recipes that go way beyond ordinary for a diverse array of meal plans and plenty of options to choose from each week. You know, I'm a big proponent of eating better. I've turned my life around, lost a lot of weight, and a lot of that was from eating a healthier diet and taking my power into my own hand, cooking for myself instead of just allowing other restaurants or things to cook for me. You don't know if it's what the butter they're using. You don't know the oils they're using. Green Chef is there. You know exactly what you're working with. You know exactly what you're preparing yourself with, and it saves you time, comes directly to your door, has everything labeled and prepared so you can get it in the kitchen and out of the kitchen and into your dining room as quick as possible. Go to greenchef.com/Funches100 and use that code Funches100 to get, oh yeah, you guessed it, $100 off, including free shipping. That's greenchef.com/Funches100 and use code Funches100 to get $100 off, including free shipping. And we thank Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, and also want to thank our good friends at BetterHelp for continuing to sponsor us. And BetterHelp, as always, is asking what interferes with your happiness. Is something preventing you from achieving your goals? You know we're all about goals here on Getting Better, and we're all talking about getting over those humps that stop us. I was a self-sabotager, eating myself into a real bad health situation, and I needed therapy, I needed training, I needed a lot of skills and tools that I did not have to help me. And BetterHelp can help you with those things. They can assess you with your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist in a safe and private online environment. It's so convenient that you can start communicating in under 48 hours. Now, it is not a crisis line and not a self-help line. If you are in need of immediate help, please call Crisis Line in your area right away. Someone does care about you. I know I do. Professional counseling done securely online. You can send a message to your counselor at any time, and it is more affordable than traditional counseling, and financial aid is available. They have licensed professional counselors who specialize in depression, stress, anxiety, and relationship issues, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, grief. I know there's a few things on those lists that I am still working through. Anything you share is confidential. It is convenient, professional, affordable, and you don't have to believe me. You can go and check the testimonials posted daily on their site. Again, it is not a crisis line. If you are in immediate help, please call a crisis line in your area. In fact, many people have been using BetterHelp, so many, in fact, that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. As a listener, you can get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/Funches. You can join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/funches for 10% off your first month.
Oh, but anyways, the thing I was going to say is like they always give that generation of people shit because it's like the first generation where they're not going to like financially surpass their elders, the Gen X's or the boomers or whatever. And but the one thing that they do have is they know how to do drugs better. Like it's not, there's people getting like now there people getting ketamine treatments because their mom passed away or whatever. And or there's people doing tiny amount. Oh, instead of us doing all these drugs and thinking we're an orange and thinking that our skin's going to peel off, we'll just do a tiny amount. And then, oh my God, I don't hate the general public. Look at that. That's amazing.
I'm still on the fence about which one of those is right. It depends on the weekends. Halston's birthday tomorrow. You need all the shrooms. Sure.
Yeah, let's tell
when
us.
does the millennials start?
Millennials from 81 to 96.
That's way earlier than you thought.
Gen Z is 97 to 2012.
Oh, I'm already bored.
2012.
That doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying. And like, that's just one source. Like I've read like 4 or 5 different sources and all of the generations are different.
Yeah,
It's
in
inconsistent.
general, I just like, I made idiots of every age group. I've met some old ass idiots. I met some young fucking idiots. Well, I just usually just vibe with people who aren't idiots.
Yeah.
Like,
Dumb knows no age.
not all or race, color, or creed. Tell me more about your family. Tell about your dad dealing with mental illness. How long have you been? You guys have been dealing with that as a family.
My whole life, because there was like long periods of time that he was untreated, and my dad's like a unique
What's
case.
he diagnosed with?
He's bipolar, but he's like a certain it's bipolar, I think type 1. So he's rapid cycling. So he'll, instead of like a lot of times people are bipolar and it's like they'll be like depressed for 3 months and then be manic for 3 months and hardly sleep and stuff like that. And my dad will change within a day. Like it's super. So growing up with that, it's just very unnerving because you just literally never know who you would be coming home to. Like I remember one time I came home and my dad worked, he worked nights and my mom worked days. So it was like being raised by 2 single parents because neither one of them were ever home at the same time. So it was like being a latchkey kid, but somebody was kind of there. They were just asleep and I wasn't allowed to wake them up. So I still had to do all of the things.
Don't wake daddy. That's
Exactly.
a good game.
I remember watching those commercials going like, I am living this game board life. And so it would change all the time. And there were like long periods of time where he wouldn't get medicated or anything. And then it took like a fight that we had over something stupid. I'm pretty sure it was like something like I didn't do my math homework or something like that. And it got so heated that he bit my face.
Oh yeah, that's a overreaction.
Yes, probably an overreaction to math homework, right? And so then I went to my middle school guidance counselor, and then like somebody from like Child Protective Services had to come and basically tell him that he needed to get on his meds. And but up until like,
that's gentle.
yeah, well, it was. But this was also before people cared about mental illness. Like, we're talking like super early 90s where you just basically didn't tell people you were mentally ill, And so it was a lot. And like, I do jokes about it now because like, I've processed a lot of it, but it's the same kind of, it's like a parallel where, how people always do jokes about how you didn't know you were poor until you find out later on, like you didn't realize that you grew up poor because you have no concept of it. When I had no concept that my dad was batshit crazy until I like shared it with other people. Like I remember one time my dad tried to build a bomb to blow me and my mom up. Yeah. And it didn't succeed, obviously. And
Was it Acme?
And that's where the joke comes from. Is like, it was actually my fault too. I was doing a report on drugs. We were doing like some study on drugs in a class or whatever, and I was writing a report, I think on heroin or something. I don't remember what it was. Or maybe like everybody in the class got a different drug they were supposed to research and do a paper on. And adolescent me was like, oh, the internet is a great source. Why don't I just use the internet because it's super new and great? And so I went on the internet and I put in illegaldrugs.com, and it happened to be the web address for the anarchist cookbook. So on there was just like how to steal money out of vending machines, how to build a pipe bomb, how to like do all of these like weird fucked up anarchist things. And so me like I was like, oh shit. So I trying to be a good kid, I told my folks about it. I was like, and meanwhile, my dad's like, oh, this is perfect. Oh, I was like, whoa, let me write this down. This is great. Right. So then, months later, obviously I forget about it. Months later, we get into a fight. I think it was over the trash this time, that I was like being a bad kid and not taking the trash out. And again, it gets to such a heated level that like, my dad just was like, all right, I'm just going to blow us up. Like, it's just going to homicide suicide is the only way to get this to not have to deal with it. And it got to the point, like me and my mom dealing with my dad so much that it was comical to us. Like we weren't scared at all. Like that's how much like the threat of death being there so much that it wasn't scary anymore. Like I think that's part of the reason why maybe I seem tougher, and I'm not really all that tough. It's just, I am just less scared of death because I've been threatened with it since I was a kid. So it's just not as scary. So anyways, but the other thing about my dad is he's incredibly codependent and he can't do anything without my mom. So what is she going to go get the gunpowder with him? Like that's not going to happen. So it was just, a piece of PVC with 2 caps, copper wire coming out of it. And ultimately, I think it was just a scare tactic. I don't think he genuinely wanted to blow us up. I think he wanted it to be so severe that I was like, all right, I'll take out the trash, Dad. Which there's way better ways of getting that done.
That's the Tom and Jerry school of parenting.
Exactly. But I remember laughing about it with my mom. Like, can you believe this fucking guy? Like, he's going to blow us up over this. And then I thought it was so funny. I wanted to share it with my best friend Kisaida. I was like, dude, you got to hear what this guy is going to fucking like. You listen to this overreaction, right? And then she her reaction was the most jarring thing. Was more jarring to me than my dad threatening my death. It was just like, what the fuck? That is so fucked up. Like. That's not okay. And I was like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, we're fine now. I mean, he cried. We'd hugged it out. It's okay. Like, and, but yeah, hearing about how bad it is from somebody else was the thing that was like, oh, this isn't good. This isn't normal.
You still working through that?
I mean, it's hard. Yeah. It's my whole life. I mean, cause now the thing about, when people get older, they don't get any less mentally ill, but he's just tired now. He can't wield a machete. He's going to hurt his back, he can't. So like, I can see it in his face. I can see it's all still there, but he just doesn't have the energy to, throw the TV out the back door anymore. Like he just doesn't have it. And which has got to be even more frustrating. Like when you were able to like get all of that anger and frustration out, breaking things when you don't have it anymore. I'm certain that makes it harder to manage.
Well, let's go the reverse. Let's go about how it affects you and how unfair that is for you to have to deal with as a kid of not knowing what way to react or how to even be a good kid in order to get the normal reaction that you would expect out of a parent. That must be mentally, especially because you didn't know what was normal and not normal. That's gotta be something that you are still unpacking and reconfiguring in your brain to this day. And I will just I guess in order to bond, I will say a similar thing where I would tell stories about people about my childhood and they'd be like, oh, that's fucked up. I remember telling my therapist this story about like, yeah, like, like I'm just used to dealing with people with people who are mentally ill or who think like I've dealt with it my whole life, whether it be my mom's boyfriend, or I won't put any other specifics, but my grand's like, I was like, yeah, like, I remember telling this story about the time that my mom finally got her boyfriend to go to jail because he would always, domestically abuse her different ways, attack her, physically attack her, verbally attack her, whatever, and would get away before the cops would come. At this time, she had taken a 2-liter of Sprite and put some sleeping pills and stuff in it because she knew. Because we knew, because of the way he acted. Whenever, like, if anybody else came by and wanted to drink soda, he would come by and then, like, drink it just to be an ogre. Mm-hmm. So, like, we had the regular soda, but we had the sleeping pill soda. And so I remember I was like, oh, he's coming home. And so I went to go get, like, oh, I'm getting some soda. And he grabbed it and just guzzled it.
Chugged the whole thing.
Yeah. And I was like,
yeah, you don't know.
Yeah. And so then he passed out and woke up in handcuffs. And I was like, this was the greatest story. It was like mystery magic story. And my therapist was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. In your head, you're like, I triumphantly helped my mom. And your therapist is like, you drugged someone. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing where it would be like, oh, we figured out a way to get out of this like threatening situation by any means necessary. So it's like a celebratory thing. And because there was plenty of times where I would get mad at my mom for still being with somebody like that, and if I'm certain you went through the same things, like it's hard because you also don't understand. You're also a child. So you also don't get it. And you don't get that like somebody is refusing to get the help that they need in order to be at least somewhat functioning. And I think the biggest effect is has like been like a attachment style, because it's like so chaotic and stuff like that. Like if things aren't chaotic, I think everything is wrong.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I know it's real bad. That's the hardest.
No, that's bad for dating.
Yeah. It really is. But again, that is all just, it takes me like researching stuff and like figuring shit out and going, oh, that's what that is. Okay. Like, and yeah, because it was like, it's hard to trust anybody when your safe haven is threatening your life, then it's hard for you to trust anyone ever, when you have one person that's the chaos and you have another person that's like, it'll be fine, it'll pass and stuff. So it's like, which is the right thing, so it is just, it's confusing. And like, but luckily I'm still able to like, I can maintain friendships and stuff like that. It's always in the specific context of a relationship where it's the most, I guess, turmoil. It causes the most turmoil.
What are you looking for?
I just genuinely want someone to like really like me and appreciate, because that's the other thing too, is like when you talked about like in your wonderful compliments, like people want to be around you and all that stuff. Like I will do anything for you if I care about you. And like without question, like it's not even, I don't question it. I'm capable of doing literally anything and more than I need to. That's what I've been told that, over and over from like past partners, is you go above and beyond for more than just the person you're with, but you try to do it for everybody. And I ultimately just want to be appreciated for that because that's just kind of who I am. Like that's the part of me that's like I got from my mom, is my mom cares more about everyone else's happiness than herself. And I definitely got that from her. And that all goes into me wanting to provide joy and stuff like that, is I just I want people to be happy. And a lot of times it's at the sacrifice of my own. And that's the thing I'm currently working on, is like, that's the hardest thing, where it's like, I've been in situations with people and, I used to date this, I dated a lot of depressed men, as you can imagine.
Yeah. It's all multiple shudders go through your body.
The ghosts of depressed men past.
Yeah. Ghost penises.
It's that Spectre dick. You get it. But then that was a harsh realization, is if they can't even, if they're incapable of appreciating anything for themselves, they're not going to be able to appreciate something that you do. And so, all those things are difficult to learn, and you just try. But yeah, that's probably the biggest, I think, effect that I've gotten from it. It's trust, and like it being things not being okay, seeming like that's how things are supposed to be normally.
Well, it seems like you're back now in a journey of reclaiming your personal power, of being back here in the West Coast, perhaps moving back here shortly. What has that been like? Is that how it's been back performing? What just could we talk just a bit about what it's like to go back home? How's it been a bit now? What do you feel?
Well, yeah, that's like, it's well, and it's not even just being in Los Angeles. It's also being able to do the thing that makes me feel sane, So, and like you were there for that. Like it was, if you would have seen me the week before we did shows together, I I was a different person. I was incredibly sad, and those things, like it was, it's incredible. It's incredible. And I knew that's the other thing too, is I also knew that going into all the pandemic and everything, I knew that I have to, the longer and it's part of the reason, one of my motivating factors for taking it seriously is like, the longer I confine myself and try really hard, like to not engage and not around people and not to do it the right way, the sooner I get to do the thing that makes me feel good, like, and makes me feel whole and makes me like, so that's been, it's my homecoming. It's me being able to feel like my genuine self. Like I've heard Chappelle talk about this, and it really clicked when I was on stage in Austin. But it was, I feel my most self when I am on stage. Like that's where I feel the most home. That's where I feel the most safe. That's where I feel like that's the truest form of me. Like that's where I feel the most comfortable to talk about any of this shit, It's part of the reason why, like, I think one of the things, somebody had written me after those shows and they were like, you're talking about things I've never heard people talk about in a way I've never heard people talk about them. Like, and it's just like, you're getting to see me in a place where I feel the safest. So I think the audience will give me the benefit of the doubt. Sure, I'll yell at you first to make sure you will. But that's where I feel the best. So that, and then like coming here, I also didn't know how things were going to be here. And it was an avalanche of abundance of good feelings, because it was like the city welcomed me with open arms. Like the minute people knew I was here, they're like, oh, let's do the podcast. You want to do a show? I got a show. You want to do a show? I'll give you money. Come to do the show. Like it was one of those things where it felt almost like I hadn't left. And to be honest with you, a lot of people didn't know I left. I'd like bowed out silently. Like most people don't know that I don't live here. Like most people don't know I went to Florida. Most people don't know that. Like I do most of it.
I'm going back to live with my parents, y'all.
Yeah, it's not. I wasn't making a life event online and shit. So
who wants to throw me a party?
Exactly. So it was amazing. It was amazing, and like I thank you for that as well, because you were partially responsible for making that happen.
Thank you. No, you just come to the shows. The shows was there. You did the work. Tell about some of your goals: career, personal, health, spiritual. What are you working on, Carmen?
Okay. My goals, well, I actually, this is the first year I've ever had a vision board, also thanks to you.
Nice.
So I have things on there that I'm working on, one of which is like actually in the works, which I'm super excited about, where I'm going to get to be in a cartoon. So I'm super stoked about that. And then the other thing is like I'm going to self-produce my own like album / special or whatever. And I'm pretty stoked about that, because like all the stuff I've been working on, I think is like I'm finally, because I recorded stuff right before, I think the December before the pandemic or whatever. And then just everything like ended up going to a screeching halt. And now it feels like that's it's so old now, or like like the world is different somehow. So it's like, there's obviously things I'm still going to do from that, but it's going to be repurposed or repackaged. And so like getting to go up and like getting to like think, like that was the other thing too, is I don't remember if we talked about this, but it was like, I got like when I got on, because I was like so bummed for months that I couldn't like I didn't have enough new thoughts. Like I was just been inside. I just don't think funny anymore. Like it was all those thoughts. And then the second I got on stage, I'd riffed like a 5-minute bit of a thing that I didn't even know I thought about. Like all of these like synapses started firing off, almost like a muscle memory thing, where it was like, oh, this is where we thrive. This is how we do this. And because I'm one of those people that I riff things. Like that's how I write, is I riff on stage. Like, so I'll take an idea that I've pre-thought of, and it's that throw yourself in the pool and try to not drown mentality, where you'll figure it out. You'll figure out something funny to say, or you're going to bomb. Do you want to bomb? No, of course I don't want to bomb. So you'll figure something out funny. And then the funniest parts of those stay. And then, you work it out that way. But so that's the other thing too, is like getting back to being great at this again is something else. Spiritually, I would like to work on my self-loathing to the most. I think probably is like, I'd like to be.
Why you got self-loathing?
I mean, because I was like told since I was a kid that I wasn't like, I mean, there was a lot of it like, my dad told me I'm like a man would never love me if I was fat. Like he told me that.
That's not good.
I know.
That's else loathing. You didn't say that to you.
I didn't, but then I believed him. Wherein like, but the other thing is I don't genuinely care about those things. Like I've never been, vanity isn't one of my, what is it called? This sins. That's not one of my things. Sloth though, man, I could get down on some sloth, right? But vanity has never been my thing. So, it's still there, like in moments in like, it still causes moments of like insecurity and like not being good, and like that idea of not being good enough for anyone. That's where a lot of the self-loathing comes in. That and like managing the imposter syndrome. I think the most succinct person I've ever heard talk about that is Greg Giraldo. I read like a book that he'd like talked about, like there was all these interviews of other comedians talking about him, and it was like I was almost like reading my own thoughts. Like where like no matter what you do, you feel like at some point you're going to be found out like you are a fraud, you know? And I think that comes into like what you were talking about, like being tough, like seemingly tough and stuff like that, but also being like, I'm super like I'm a closeted romantic. Like I love mushy shit. I'll send a dude flowers. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I love all of that stuff. But all of that feels lame because my whole adult, like from, probably like
even love that whole sentence. That's a very much a Carmen Morales sentence. I love mushy shit. I'll send a dude flowers. I don't give a fuck. Tell that bitch to suck my dick.
Yeah, but then while he's sucking my dick, I'm like, do you really like sucking my dick though? I don't want you to not suck it if you don't like it. It's the conundrum I got to navigate. Like it's like, and I think part of that's like my chemical imbalance. Like I have a higher testosterone than the average female does too. So it's like a constant struggle that I'm going on, not just from the mental, but a chemical imbalance where it's like, that's why it's weird to be worried about being emasculated when you are not a man. Like, and so there's a lot of those things that I like. And like, when I want to be mushy and stuff like that, where it's in my head, I'm just like, you are so fucking lame, dude. Like that's so stupid. Like, and, so it sucks. It's like I envy women that don't have high testosterone, and I envy men that all have low T. Like even that, because it's like, oh, you can just have a little bitch in you and not feel bad about it. That sounds amazing. So like that, like all of those things they're all current works in progress that I would love to have a breakthrough with. And so Spears career, and then other thing would be being able to accept someone to love me. I think because that's probably the hardest one.
Yeah, that seems like the self-loathing would be a part of that.
Yeah.
You can't, similar before, you can't date a depressive guy who can't love himself. So how could they love you? But how could you love somebody else if you constantly finding faults in yourself?
Yeah, well, and then it's like, sure. And also, just like the thinking that I don't deserve it. Like there's for whatever reason, being it childhood or mistakes I've made in relationships in the past or decisions I've made, like, because a lot of it's just guilt. I just feel guilty. Like it's guilt
What's
management.
the thing that makes you feel like you don't deserve love?
Probably like guilt from ever doing anything wrong, like.
What'd you do?
I mean, I went through a married guy phase,
A phase of married guy.
Well, not even just like they weren't all married, but like being a side bitch, like and like being comfortable in that, and that's not okay. Like that's also because that's all I thought I deserved. Like I didn't think I was I didn't deserve to be in the spotlight, and just shit like that, like having like feeling guilty for like not being a good partner, like all of the like anything that I've ever done wrong I feel bad about, and it doesn't just subside, it stays like, and it ruminates, and it like it comes back up. And so it's just like I have to figure out a way to like release myself of it, I guess.
How long ago was the married guys phase?
Probably like 7 years ago.
Okay. So do you think that that's worse than like robbing a store?
Yeah, I mean, I still rob stores, so yeah, I think
What else will you get 7 years for? What we cost in Google what you go to jail for 7 years for, and let's find out if she should still be feeling bad. If it's just like small things, then yeah, I guess she should still feel bad.
I mean, it just depends on the state, right? I mean, you could go to jail for like 15 years for a small amount of marijuana in Montana.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it just depends. It's varying, but
Okay.
and I say that like phase, but it wasn't like a lot of people. I wasn't like a home wrecker or anything like that. It was it was just me not thinking that I just allowing people to like take advantage of me, and knowing it too, and but just being okay with it because I didn't think I didn't think I deserved anything better than that.
This list is kind of great.
Is it?
Okay.
Let's hear it.
They're like 5 years or 10 years. So I'll read you the 10-year one.
Okay, 10 years.
Contaminating public water or food for terrorism.
Did you commit public terrorism by messing with the water supply?
No.
Possessing child pornography.
No. No. I'm a perv, but not like that.
Did you hinder a prosecution? Did
I don't think so. I
That
don't really
seems
fuck
like
with them.
something you would do, though. You
I mean, I
seem like
wouldn't
a
put it
ride or
past
die
me,
bitch. You seem like
I'm not gonna say that into a microphone being recorded.
Burglary, second degree with
Say-
firearm.
second degree
Oh, I don't have a
with
gun.
a firearm.
I don't have a gun. I don't have a gun on me.
You would have had to have a gun on you.
Manslaughter, second degree with a firearm.
That's all.
Manslaughter
You only
is
get 10
murder.
years for that?
Yeah, 'cause you didn't
Now I
mean
feel
to
like I
murder
should have
them.
manslaughtered somebody.
Yeah.
Selling or transporting assault weapon.
Selling and transporting assault weapons. It could lead to a mass shooting.
No.
Could hurt so many people.
And sexual assault in the second or third degree with firearm.
Sexual assault with a
With a gun.
firearm.
No.
Doing old Nick Cage as you will.
No, I definitely.
I gotta cover my bases.
Yeah, no, I guess I haven't done any of those things.
Well, it sounds like you should forgive yourself because you would have been already out of jail by now. If you had committed.
So just do all of the things, but with a gun. That's the general consensus. If you do anything with a gun,
But I mean, my general thing is that like I was thinking about like sometimes when I first go into therapy, I'd had the same thing where I would think about things that I did when I was 17, 20, 21. I'm 38 years old now. And just be like, holy shit, you are judging yourself for things you did 18 years ago. If you had did anything besides, like, if you had done manslaughter, you already would have been out of jail by now and would have been reliving your life. So why are you still not forgiving yourself? This is a thing that I had to teach myself of just being like, you're great, you're fine, and hey, nobody's perfect. So like, stop beating yourself up and stop punishing yourself and stop basically, re-traumatizing yourself after.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. That's a biggie right there. Is like instead of like sometimes processing it, just re-traumatizing it. Because then it always seems fresh, too, that way.
Yeah. And then next thing you know, it's 30 years later and you're yelling about something that somebody did 20 years ago. And people are like, what's up with that crazy bitch?
Yeah. Except the only thing is I'm yelling about something I did 25 years ago. Yeah. I think that's those are most of my goals. It's all like mostly like internal work.
That seems like good goals to have. That's a great focus, as opposed to be like, I need to get this and that and this and that, to be like, oh, these are the things I need to work on myself about because I want to enjoy being in my body more. That's a positive. That's nothing but positive.
But I think but I think that's the reason is like, then I also, that feeds the other aspects of my life. Like, I don't like, there's plenty of things where I didn't try for because I was like, no, there's somebody better suited for that. Like, so that's like me fucking up my own progress, you know? So if I work on that, then I can allow, it's the same kind of thing like with the love thing. It's like, I can allow good things to happen. And I don't actively thwart them or anything like that. it's not that bad.
Not self-sabotaging.
Yeah. I mean, there is an element of that, but it's just not as bad as it could be, you know? And that's come from the work or whatever. But, oh, sorry. It's not as severe as it could be because I'm like working on it, but it's still like, that's the whole thing is it's never going to be done. I'm never going to be
It's always a battle. We're given battles to fight until you die. What else you going to do? Life will be boring without it.
Yeah.
So it's fun. Also, I like that you said you weren't going to cry, and you cried a little bit.
I didn't cry.
I seen it.
What?
I saw you hold back a little bit earlier.
I did not cry.
I seen it. Halston, roll back the tape. Roll back the tape. You were mistied. You were mistied for a minute.
I'm just warm. I'm not like crying.
Sure.
Yeah, so when I start talking about my mom, because I love my mom's the best.
Tell us more about your mom.
No. I know what you're doing. You're not going to Barbara Walters me. It's not happening.
I do want to know about your mom. You told us about your dad. What is your relationship like with your mom?
My mom's great. I love my mom. She's amazing. Like I got nothing bad to say about her. Like she's
Seems
one
like
of those
she can
people
cook
that's
very well.
Huh?
Seems like a great cook.
She's an incredible cook. I had this silly joke about her that I actually just forgot until right now. I have not said this, but I was like I've always heard women throughout my life talk about like, oh, I'm turning into my mother. Oh, that's so bad. I can't believe I'm turning. Like I couldn't wait to turn into my mom. Like that's how much I like her. I think she's fucking rad. And there's still, I mean, she's not without flaw. I don't have her on that kind of pedestal. Right? She's not a human being. But she is also the source of like me having a difficulty being vulnerable. Cause like, she's like a Italian lady from Queens whose family was in the mob. Like, she was raised by people where you didn't show any kind of emotion because emotion meant weakness, you know? And so that's the other thing that was like being on the inside of like her relationship with my dad is it's crazy because it's like, she just looked impenetrable. And like, I've had people that I've like, you know, dated or even just were hanging out with where it's like, oh, you seem like you're impenetrable, but you are not. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a fucking person. I'm not a robot. I'm not Spock. Like, but the external, like that element of it is to kind of just ward off anybody that's like, that is just looking to hurt you or whatever. But she's always like she's incredibly kind and like takes care of everyone. And like, again, like just puts everybody before herself. And she's amazing. I love my mom. She's the best.
I love that. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, I didn't cry either.
No, because you cried earlier.
I didn't fucking cry.
Last thing, just for a piece of advice and pearl of wisdom, something that's helped you along your day, maybe something that the mushrooms taught you. I don't know. Or something you learned from your mom or whoever. I don't really care where it came from, as long as it's something that helps to get in better community, get better.
I think one of the best things, and I think this goes along with what we're just talking about with my mom, is being able to talk about it. Like, cause that's like a lot of the dealing with all this stuff is by myself, you know, like when I lived out of my Saturn or whatever for like 6 years, like I didn't have anyone to really talk to about this shit except me. So like, that's part of the reason why it's like, I call it self-therapy or whatever, but it's just me working my shit out with myself. Is it helps if you have another person to talk to, because you're biased. So being able to communicate about through it. And I think ultimately, and I think what the mushrooms have helped me with is asking the harder, being willing to like hear the harder question and being willing to answer it honestly. Like, what do you genuinely want? Like, what do you actually, what do you want? What do you need? What do you know, like getting your hierarchy of needs met. And like, what does that mean to you? Be it from your career, from your, your mental health, like your family, whatever the case is, it's like cause the thing is like throughout my whole entire life, I've watched people lie to themselves, lie to me, lie to everybody around them. And it's just because they're not being honest with themselves about what they genuinely need. They're saying what they think other people want to hear them say, you know, and then they just are quietly unhappy for like ever, you know, and it's hard. Like that, one of my friends, cause I talked to my friend about this, and he was telling me that it was like, that part of it is like me, because I'm, you know, such an outlier, like I said, in like a lot of different ways, that the way I deal with things or handle a lot of these things is way more severe and direct than most people are capable of dealing with it. Like I can handle, I think it's probably just because my pops used to be so overtly direct in the meanest way possible, that like I can cut through all of this stuff and just talk about the minutia of it and get to it. Cause that's where the real answer comes from. And part of the reason people spend years in therapy without coming through, without getting any kind of breakthrough, is because they have to go through all of this stuff and meander all of these things. And, maybe this and like, it's like, no, it's, I don't think I deserve love. That's like a hard thing to be able to say. And the more I say it, the sillier it sounds, you know, and being able to say it out loud makes it sound even more ridiculous. And the more ridiculous it sounds, the less likely you are to internalize it and keep it inside and believe it, you know? And so I think that's what it is. It's like being able to say the hardest thing possible. That's the thing. Like I ended up having to work through with myself. Like, stop fucking lying to me, bitch. I'm you. You know?
I love it. I think that's great advice. You got to be willing to tell yourself the truth and shake hands with yourself, as a gentleman once told me. And I think that's exciting because you're so funny, right? And you're so good at comedy, and you're such a good business person, and you're doing a lot of things great while not feeling like you deserve love. That's so much to have to carry while also doing that.
My shoulders are very strong.
And so, like, similar to a thing that I've told like other people who have interviewed on here, is that like makes me in some ways like, I mean, I don't feel bad for you. Like because I know what that journey is like, and we all go through that. But what it does make me feel is excited, like, and more like, I want you to get through that, because like, that's how great are you going to be, and how powerful will you be when you believe in yourself and believe you deserve love.
Yeah.
Like when you have that, as well as all the things that you've already learned from the things you've been through, that's unbeatable. When you're like, I'm tough, I do this, I know this, and I know I deserve love, and I know that I'm valuable, and I know who I am, and I know my power.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that for you.
Me too. Just it's unfortunate it's taking me this long to get even this close to it. But yeah, I mean, it also like that. The other part of it is like it's again, it goes to the emasculating thing, where it's like, how like you're in your fucking mid 30s, bitch. Like you still have low self-esteem. Like, come on. Like this is child's play. But it's really not, because people, like grown people, are dealing with it all the time. And that's the source of, it's just like that, like the, it goes back to what we were talking about. It's just piled under a bunch of shit, you know, but the crux of it is you don't think you don't like you. Why don't you like you? You should. You like, other people like you.
Yeah.
Are they all wrong?
Exactly. That was the worst. That was the thing where it was hard for me. Like I dated a few women who were like that, and it was just like, you like, at the end of the day, it becomes impossible to date like that if you are if you're not feeling like that, because you're like, oh, I think you're great, and all you do most of the day is tell me I'm wrong. You know, all the time is you're just being like, actually, no, I'm a piece of shit. And at the end of the day, I dated enough of them. I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, and I can do better.
I wasn't that bad. I wasn't trying to convince you that I was. It was definitely more of like it would make me not listen to myself as much if people were positive towards me, you know. And so that was the whole thing with the depressed guys, is like, a lot of times they just don't have the fucking bandwidth to do that, you know? So yeah.
I'm excited for change in the future for that.
Me too.
Where can people find you who are now like you and want to follow you on things?
CarmenMorales.com for all of your Carmen Morales needs. You can follow me on all the assorted social media at The Funny Carmen. I'm also on Twitch. /The Funny Carmen. All of the things is The Funny Carmen.
Yeah, until she gets into dramatic acting, and then it'll be the drama Carmen.
Yeah, the dramedy Carmen.
Just bit by bit. It was just
Well, it came about
the
because
dramatic Carmen.
Well, I'm already dramatic. I think we both know that. But it all came about because there's a famous novela actress named Carmen Morales, and so I was like, okay, and she's gorgeous too. So for me, I mean, this is also like, I don't know, 24-year-old me was like, well, she's the hot one and I'm the funny one. Okay.
That's the hot Carmen. This is the funny Carmen. You know when you get one, which one you get.
And one time I was doing this show in Miami, and they put the novela actress's picture on the flyer instead of mine, like they didn't know. They just Googled Carmen Morales and picked the first picture. And I was just like, you bitch.
That's fun. Oh, well, Carmen, thank you for coming and sitting and talking with me, just for being a good friend through the pandemic, playing video games with me and getting me high, and just in general being a fun friend to have and make throughout this year. And I hope that in some small ways we can tour, have fun, and we can push you towards the self-love and
Self-actualization?
That's the word.
I sensed it. I ESPN'd it.
Sometimes I just can't. I just shouldn't try words that have more than 3 syllables. I should just throw them away.
They're there. I heard it. I heard it. You were just like, which one is it?
Yeah. And I still couldn't say it if I tried right now. Actualization.
Yay!
Did I do it wrong?
No, you nailed
I did
it.
it right?
Listen, you got to celebrate the small victories as well as the big ones.
Oh, you don't even see the fact that I had to spell it in my head in order to say it.
I just see a small Ron, like the pixelated Ron going, actualization.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. There's a mental thing in my head that some certain words just go away, which is always fine weird because I do so many voiceovers, and then I'm like, guys, I can't say so many words.
Can we get a different adjective here? Not a big fan of this one.
I'm also very smart, so don't get confused, but I just can't say some words.
I remember reading a Time magazine article about how like there's this couple that both of them had like the highest joint IQ, and like they were asked like what they do in their spare time, and it was like try to figure out their espresso machine. So it doesn't matter how fucking smart you are. There's still always parts where it's like, not this.
Yeah, just different things. Different folks got different issues. I know what mine are. Carmen.
Yes, that's me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.